Good evening, Steve Brinton from Muscle Testing Academy. Beautiful Sabbath day. The sun is just about ready to dip down over the edge of the earth there, the horizon. And every day it's a little bit later. So it's beautiful, beautiful. And you know, for me, it's not a bad time. I just got back from the White Mountains, Greer. We have access to a cabin up there, family cabin. And I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning because I told Joyce last night, we come up here and it's real easy to just sit in the cabin and do nothing and veg, which is nice. It's not bad. It's a pretty good thing. And just rest. And I thought, no, I got to go out and see some animals. So I have my favorite off-road 2-track trails that are basically blocked off, but if you know where to access them, you can get into them. Because the trails are mostly used as cross-country ski trails during the winter time, and since there was no winter this time, so I got up at 5, woke up naturally, and got dressed, put some my binoculars in the truck in case, saw some animals, and then left. And actually it was a very beautiful morning. The sun was not quite up, it was just waking up, and the light was coming on, the dimness, darkness was fading away. And hi Milo, it's always good to see you online there. And so I took the truck and took a 2-track trail and went up through the mountains, went up through the canyons there near Greer, and not too far in I saw a herd of 8 deer. It's very, very nice. Pulled out the binoculars and checked them out, and there was about 4 does and 4 fawns, yearlings actually, not this year, but they made it through the winter time. And it's just fun to watch the animals. They're just beautiful, amazing to see that. And I realized at the time that these animals were no more than 200 yards from a little tiny creek that runs year-round. So I knew they were close to water. And I also know that it's never been, this is the driest winter ever on record up there. Nobody remembers it being this dry ever before. Talked to a guy this morning, he says the old timers, he goes, I guess we're the old timers, but the real old timers say they've never seen a winter like this, so dry. So I drove up further up the mountain, came down, and saw another deer. And then later on, close down to Greer, I saw 3 cow elk, and one was very large, so I'm assuming that one was near birthing of a nice little calf. And so I enjoyed that. Went and took a look at the 3 lakes there, the Greer lakes. 2 of them are full to the brim. The other one is like almost not. I saw a large, huge nest on top of a dead snag tree. I suppose it's probably an eagle's nest. And not too far away, I saw another dead snag tree with 7 herons in it, roosting still, hadn't left their roost. Then I came back and ate some breakfast with Joyce, and then we left for church, for 8 o'clock church. And as we were leaving, just turning onto the main highway, just to the left, there were 5 Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep rams. Only one of them had a tag on its ear, so that's good, because these are transported, what do they come? They're transported deer. They come from Colorado. They brought them into this area as Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep, not desert, but Bighorn sheep, Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep. And they were grazing, not more than 25 yards off the side of the road, and about 50 yards from a pond of water. So everything is like checking out where the water is and making sure there's water there. And on the way in on Saturday we went down to town, bought some hummingbird feeders and a bird feeder for seed, hung those up, had a Baltimore Oriole there this morning, taking the seeds out of the bird feeder, just beautiful birds. And so on the way in last night, we noticed that when we had driven to town on Saturday, they weren't there, but when we came back, there were 2 very large water containers, probably 8-10 feet across, about 2.5-3 feet high, filled to the brim with water. They're watering the cattle and the wildlife. And so that was a surprise to see that happening. So coming back from church, we drove by, and where there hadn't been any cattle in the morning, there were probably a good 25 cattle who had wandered in looking for a drink of water. Now, there is water in the area, but you got to go down some pretty steep cliffs to get it, and I don't think these cattle are up to it. The bighorn sheep can handle it, but the cattle can't. So they're already watering the cattle, and it's not even the end of May. So noticing that when times get tough, we're looking for a little bit of support. And the question is, when time gets tough for you, because if times don't get tough, you're really not living much of a life, not much of a story. And here's a great little conversation that says a story is created when a person wants something and they have to overcome conflict and opposition to get it. And they have to be willing to risk to get that. And more often than not, it requires some sort of relationship risk. And so when we are living a life of purpose, a little bit of value, there will be some risk and there'll be opposition. Because if there's no opposition, you're not playing the game, you're hiding. So the question I want to ask you is, when things get tough, when they're challenging, when all the natural water spots are drying up and up on the rim by Forest Lakes, they're having to truck water in for the wild horses up there. So it's pretty dry everywhere. And when things get dry, things get tough, they're not nurturing, they're struggling for you, difficulties. Like, where do you go to get replenished? Where do you go to find your water, to nurture yourself? So here's a thought. Consider this. What I'd like you to do today, tonight, I'd like you to take a pen and paper. I'd like you to write a list, at least 10 people long, maybe longer, 10 people in your life who have had a major impact, influence upon you, who have nurtured you, led you, brought you along the way, have showed up in amazing times in your life, have been teachers for you. 10 people in your life. Go back, count them up, write them down. They can be mortals or immortals, okay? However you choose to name that. And identify where they have shown up. I was reading a book this morning that talks about Christ, how he was, it says he didn't say he rose from the dead, but he was raised from the dead. So everywhere along your pathway, it's not like you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps. It's like someone has shown up to help you, to assist you, to walk you along the pathway. So write those names down, the people. Do a little remembering, a little reflecting. Every one of those people has shown up because it's an intervention, a tender mercy from God, however you want to refer to that higher power, shows up, is watching over you. You have teachers, guides, and helpers, angels, Holy Spirit watching over you all the time, assisting you. So when things get tough, when those challenges come, remember where they have shown up and where people have shown up for you in your past. They will show up for you in the present day. They will be available for you. That water will be trucked in. You'll be delivered from the drought, and you'll move on to the next part in your dream. So be mindful. Write them all down. I'm okay. Put a few of them on here, or send me a message. Push the message button and share with a couple of the people who have been powerful for you in your life, who have helped you make it through the hard times, the drought times, the tough times, when it didn't look good, when it was challenging. So enjoy the rest of your Sabbath day. It's a beautiful day. It's great to be back here. This morning when I woke up at 5 o'clock, it was 34 degrees in Greer. So it's not that right now. So it's always great to be wherever you are at the moment. So thank you. Take care.